to be here to present a talk which I believe it's important of us. We are in the country of Theravada. So it is important that I would like to speak about Hinayana. To the compassion of Buddha had left the three yana, Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. It's called the Triyana, however, it's just one yana. But for the sake of progressing in the path of enlightenment, the Buddha divided into Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. And there had been some article or conversation had put down Theravada is the lesser vehicle, not as important as Mahayana and Vajrayana. This is not true. Vajrayana had four main branches, which is the Galupa, Nyingmapa, Sakyapa, and the Kakyupa. The master, the founder of the Galupa is Tsongkhapa. He is our most modern time after Guru Rinpoche, Mapa, and Milarepa. He was born from 1357 to 1419, and he had promoted very strongly the teaching of how important it is, Theravada. So why is that Tsongkhapa, who is the scholar and the true practitioner and guru of Vajrayana, have spent so much written and teaching and stretching how important Theravada in our spiritual development and enlightenment? The time of the Tsongkhapas is about 14th century, which is the most recent of our time compared to Guru Rinpoche time. So this is not about my opinion, but this is about the teaching of the very renowned scholar and Vajrayana practitioner. This is because in order to attain enlightenment, we have to do without desire. And as you watch from the 14th century until now the 21st century, the world has been contaminated so much with all kinds of desire and corruption. So Theravada's teaching mostly stress of how we can deal with the desire by the teaching of the four dukkhas without the thought and action and activity of renunciation. It is almost impossible to recognize the Buddha within. Theravada provides the foundation. Just like building a building, we need to have a foundation before we go to the first and the second or fourth, fifth story. Provide the discipline for the body and the mind, and how we can deal with the contamination of the coming of the destruction of the world. So before we can take up to a higher teaching, first and foremost, we need to know the discipline of the mind. And that can be practiced by precept the Buddha laid out over 2,000 years ago. So thanks to each woman, which is Samara and Bhikshuni sit in front of me here, they are carry on the tradition of the Buddha, walking the step of the Buddha in disciplining of the body and mind. They represent something so important and vital to the whole Buddhism for now and future. Thanks to Theravada that Buddhism still exists. But of course, we also need to advance in the practice, which is the aspect of compassion for others and wisdom. The Sunyata meditation in Theravada is not complete. Therefore, the great perfection of Vajrayana will bring the completion of Buddhahood. So this is the progressing method of the Buddha laying the foundation for the practitioner to attain Buddhahood. So first one needs to have the foundation of discipline in order to address the desire of the mind and body. Second is the aspect of compassion of others and prajna. And complete it with Vajrayana, the great perfection. That's the progression path. So even in Vajrayana teaching, it also includes the teaching and stress the practice of Theravada. So the teaching entails the very first, that the fourth thought to turn the mind away from samsara. So the first thought is the precious human body. Now this is a little bit different from what you have, the Theravada practitioner, that the body is very filthy, the seventh part of the body need to be meditated in order to do away with it, to dislike it and look towards something better. In Vajrayana, we must look at the body as the most precious gift that we ever can be fortunate to have, because it's a foundation for enlightenment. Without that, there's no vehicle to travel. Just like the lotus cannot rise brilliantly with the different beautiful color without the mud in the pond. Within this filthy body that taught by Theravada of the 37 elements need to be meditated, there is channel, there is air and tikle, which is a little bit difficult for you to understand now, but just take it for now. These are elements that rise, that enable enlighten, recognize of the Buddha nature to bring it into fruition much faster. For example, the body that we use to meditate at 37 filthy things, actually when the channel is blocked, the air is blocked, we have headache, we have pain, we have all kind of cough, all kind of distraction, of disturbance of the body and mind. That indication that the channel in the body exists. Also, the body has the 5 elements that relate to the nature. The element of water, of wood, fire, earth, and metal. These elements in the human body, they are representing the inner organs, the taste, the color. But truly, if we purify them, they become the 5 wisdom, 5 Buddha. So that's why one needs to recognize the precious of human body on the very fundamental level. Without the body, you would not be able to sit in meditation to purify your inner thought and emotion. Without the body, you cannot sit here and listen to the Dharma. So that shows that the human body is most precious. Without this, enlightenment not possible. That's why animal cannot listen to Dharma. Animal cannot do prostration to do purification of their karma. You see, human can. That's why Buddha, in the teaching of the Buddha gave a story that there was a blind turtle that every 100 years that it will rise, the turtle in the ocean, in the vast ocean, and every 100 years it rises, and he had to poke its head into the yolk with piece of block with a hole. That's how precious it is, human body. Now, what the chance for the blind turtle to find the yolk in the middle of the ocean in order to poke its head through it? That's the chance of having the human body. Yet, even the body is so precious, it's easily lost. Easily lost. How many in this room have had family member had already passed away, even at a young age? How many of you? So raise your hand if any one of you in this room had family member that had already passed away. Actually, Mingyu for sure yesterday told me there's an airplane, Air Malaysia, that lost, that the whole entire airplane people disappear. And how many people in this room that had certain kind of illness that worry you, that concern you, that prevent you from practice the Dharma fully. How many in this room? Actually, there half of the room raise your hand and half is not, right? But even you have nothing, the degeneration of the falling apart of the 5 elements continue to happen. And that called birth, old age, sickness, and death. So you see all those, the Buddha had taught that the human body is so precious, yet it is easily lost. That shows the second teaching, which is we're facing the impermanence of our predicament. Actually, we face the impermanence of this life in every moment. The weather change, the health change, your thought change, the politics change, the economy change, the earth change. Actually, we're facing something very pressing in our life. We see change outside, but really, even when we sit very still in meditation, the body also going through constant change of the element, the cell born and die constantly inside the body. That's called the aging process. And why the change? What caused the change? Karma. Our karma, individual karma, called the change within our body, the collective karma of the world, of the nation, of the city, of the community, called the change. So the third teaching is we are facing our karma. Each of us came to this life with a package of blessing and karma. If we have more blessing, we have a beautiful body and nice surrounding of houses and lake and mountain and job and the mind to learn anything we want. If we have more karma, we will be born with a sick body and a sick mind and a poverty. And the package of blessing and karma continually fluctuated. The more blessing we generated while we're living, the less karma we have. The more activities, negative activity we do, the less blessing we have, the karma will increase, which it will affect our mind and body, which will affect our aging. And we can spend all our life to generate wealth. When we die, according to Buddha teaching, even the king had to leave everything behind. At his death, he no different than a beggar. At this time, I'd like to bring you one little attention, because I know in this room, in one time of your life, and each of you may have faced some illness. And I have written in my book, illness is the blessing in disguise. And I will explain why. Actually, sickness makes us stop and think about our action, speech, and thought. Sickness makes us become humble and reconsider our action. If we're not sick, we're very arrogant. So, in this way, I said to my patient many times, sickness is a blessing because it makes you turn your mind toward the Dharma. It makes you put more effort into your practice. Actually, if we view sickness properly, sickness can be a gateway to transform our karma into blessing. A gateway to transform, to exhaust that kind of karma. That kind of karma being exhausted, another blessing will be arising. But if we so suffer, we so hold on to that sickness and only focus on sickness, we expand that karma. So how we view about sickness is very important. So I want to make sure that when sickness happens in somebody's life, it is like the eruption of that karma in order to do away with, to clean that out. How we view it, it will make the transitional of our life afterward. But if we only focus on resolving the sickness, we lose the chance. The sickness become meaningless. Do you understand this point? So do not despise. Do not look at sickness as an enemy. No. Sickness is your friend. Sickness reminds us of our impermanent nature. Now take to the four thoughts. We already get through the three. The first one is the precious human body. The second one is impermanent. The third one is karma. The fourth one is suffering. How many people in this room ever suffer? Either mental or physical? Raise your hand. I have one famous question I asked to my patient. I asked, either male or female, in your marriage, tell me the amount of happiness you have and the amount of suffering compared for me. Give me a comparison. And the patient said, oh my gosh, my happiness is this much and my suffering is this big. So that's why love story and love song still written, because still people wanting to find my love, my happiness, at least somewhere somebody there for me. Actually, coming down to the truth, do you experience having this body is suffering? Correct? Although how precious it is a suffering. You know, we feed it, we clothe it, we sleep, we do everything, but when it wants to get sick, it just gets sick. And not talking about the emotion and mind. Certain emotion we want to do it without, but we couldn't get rid of it. And the chain of thought, we don't want to, but it can pop up in our head. Go around and around and around and around. And then our parents, no matter how much they care about us, we still find they didn't love us enough, or didn't provide us enough. And then our government, no matter what happened they do, it's still some dissatisfaction. And even the weather, it will be too hot or too cold. That's the nature of suffering that we deal with constantly every day. And because of that, what do? We find something in order to cover up the suffering. We find pleasure. We find certain kind of pleasure, either in human or in material. So we're attached to material or attached to emotion. Like iPhone, TV, music. You see, we find means to avoid, to face the reality what we're living with. So the poor worry about not having enough money. The rich worry about how to protect what they already earn or have. It's constant suffering, the suffering of the world. If you look at very detail, everybody has something to worry about. So we just go through the four thoughts that is very important. It's the foundation that we must have in order to practice, in order to usher us into the Dharma. Without these four thoughts, we will become laid back. We will practice today, forget the next week. And then practice one more hour, forget the next year. So these four thoughts, the precious human body. Although it's precious, but it's very impermanent, easily lost. And the reason we can lose it is because of our karma. If we don't have a lot of blessing, the life force will be short. And even we have all this, they have the human body, we know the impermanence of it, and we understand the karma, still we suffer internally and we suffer externally from the environment and the people around us. The four thoughts that turn the mind away from samsara, basically put into one word, renunciation. I have many students. Maybe people want to become my student. Usually I would say this. Can you grave the word death on your forehead? If you can, I will accept you as my student. Because only when we know that we will die, sooner or later, it's inevitable. That is predictable. We don't know when, but we know it will. When we know that, we put everything aside and move forward to realize the essence of our mind, which is the Buddha nature. Actually, I have a practice on myself. That every night I listen to the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's recorded, and I just put it in my ear, and I go to sleep with the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And I recorded that at night, from time to time, it will be reminding me, recognize clear light, recognize clear light, recognize clear light. Every time I wake up, if I wake up, I must recognize clear light, because I don't know when I will die. And I want to make sure that I know what to do the minute I take the last breath. That I practice now. And I have been practicing actually the last 20 some years. It has been going on. So I continue imprinted in my subconscious mind so that it becomes spontaneous, automatic. One of the reasons that when I arrived in US 30 some years ago, that I am so keen to follow the Tibetan tradition, because they teach very, very detailed how to die. What happened when you die, and how to practice to die. Actually, the more I listen to the teaching, the more I practice Fowa and Shito and church, the more I let go of everything and do very little with any ambition. There's no more ambition, because I know death will arrive. I don't know when, but it will arrive. And I don't want it to be a surprise. I want to be well prepared. Because Buddha teaching is so many. I cannot practice them all. So I have to decide which is the most effective for me. The same thing with at the doctor. Medicine is so many. How do you know which bottle to take? You have to choose, because you cannot take all the medicine. You have to take the most essential medicine for your own sickness. I thank you very much for your patience and attention.
Thank you very much.
大家好，我是虚拟东陀，我现在成立了这个台湾藏传佛教网络电视台，所以呢，我们希望大家有钱出钱，有力努力的方式来，要支持我们，也是护持我们。谢谢大家，阿弥陀佛。